Who do you think PWG should give the belt to who can be fully committed to the promotion because of problems with Omega and Davey besides Chris Hero? Alright, so you get what Big Rat is saying. You know, who should really carry the company in PWG? Well, as of this morning, I found that Claudio Castagnoli is the new PWG champion, which is kind of a weird decision to me because, you know, Claudio is a little bit more committed to Chikara and Ring of Honor than PWG. I don't see this title reign lasting very long, but I don't see Claudio being that guy. I think, besides Chris Hero, I would actually see El Generico actually being that guy. I think El Generico, he's PWG through and through. It seems like he's pretty much been the backbone of that company now. No matter how big he gets in Ring of Honor, he still makes the PWG appearances. So I would say Generico is probably the most reliable guy to be the champion. He's been champion before in 2007, so maybe that's why I didn't give it back to him. And he's in this huge feud with Kevin Steen. But no, giving the belt to Claudio was kind of random to me. But, you know, who are you going to give it to? I think giving it to Claudio is fresh. But, you know, as far as the commitment factor, I really don't know. But glad they didn't give it to Joey Ryan. I thought it was a mistake to have Joey Ryan win Battle of Los Angeles. I mean, out of anyone, I was like, what the fuck? But, yeah, I think El Generico will be that guy. You know, I think Chuck Taylor, eventually he'll be the PWG champion. Chuck Taylor is definitely a candidate. And Brandon Gatson as well. I just don't think those guys are ready yet. Yeah, I can see, you know, they need someone like Claudio. Claudio should put them over eventually, and then that's when you do it. So I think Claudio's a big enough star now where he could pretty much make one of those guys and give them a lot of momentum heading into their championship run. So, all right, next up, Mr. Narrator says, what's your opinions of wrestlers working over a body part? It works, but sometimes I feel like it's been done to death. What are some other interesting ways you've seen psychology used in a match? Well, you know, as far as, you know, the last question, you know, besides, you know, just putting on a rest hold or, you know, going to work on a knee, you know, we've seen some really cool things happen. You know, I think one example is, you know, Roderick Strong trying to chop Bryan Danielson and Danielson just ducking and then Roderick hitting the pole and then, you know, fucks up his hand so bad he can't use his chops anymore. So that pretty much takes away one of his best offensive moves. So that's one thing right there. I mean, there's a lot of different things that just aren't coming to my mind, but you know, as far as wrestlers working over a body part, I don't mind it as long as it's done with a lot of intensity, like Bryan Danielson working over Naruki Doi at the Untouchable pay-per-view. That was awesome. Like, as long as it means something, as long as it's kind of like entertaining to a degree. What I think we don't like about this type of thing is, you know, generic, you know, FCW developmental WWE wrestlers doing it in a match just because they were told to do it. And they're just pretty much wrestling because they have the look, or, you know, because, you know, they're bodybuilders or what have you, and they want to make some money. It just feels like it's very, very generic. It feels like it's just totally routine, and that's when it's like, oh, who gives a fuck about this shit, you know? So that's when working the body part was very, very dull to me. The other thing is, you know, as far as selling goes, I just want to touch on selling really quickly. You know, sometimes if you don't sell something in a match, it could definitely hurt it. It's like, sometimes it's like, what the fuck? You know, I think a perfect example of that was John Cena versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 23. HBK was going to work over Cena's knees, which was fine. I thought it made sense. But then all of a sudden, Cena was Super Cena, totally forgot to sell it, did not sell it at all. And it was just kind of like weird. But at the same time, for as dumb as it looked, and for maybe it took away from the match a little bit, but at the same time, it didn't really affect the overall rating of the match because HBK and Cena's performance towards the end of that match, the counters and the reversals were so insane that, you know, you pretty much just forgot about that stuff. So I think as long as you put on an entertaining match, as long as the chemistry is good, and as long as, you know, the crowd is into it, you could pretty much just ignore that stuff for the most part. You know, you know, I'm not saying it's not important. I just think that it's not everything, though. You know, it's not going to take away from the match every single time. That's the point I'm trying to make there. All right, so next up, Austin Aries Mark asks, what direction do you see Delirious taking ROH? I think he's going to go back to a mixture of Adam Pearce and Gabe Sapolsky. I think he's going to try not to burn out the crowds with a whole bunch of you know, long filler matches on every single show. I think he's going to try to make every show seem important. He's going to do away with you know, just giving you absolutely nothing on some of the the shows right before the really big shows, like at Buffalo Stampede 2 and Eye of the Storm 2. Like shows like that are going to be a lot better. Going to have much more dream matches. Um, I think Delirious needs to limit the video wires. The video wires have been great, but the problem is they're kind of hurting the shows a little bit. They're jamming all the great promos into the video wires. Personally, I like what Gabe Sapolsky did. He made an effort to have great backstage promos before and after, some of the matches on the regular shows. And I think you could probably go back to that. I think Delirious could definitely go back to that. So that's one thing right there. And I see, I see storylines coming back. I think better storylines will definitely be there, as well as just better overall matches. I think it'll be better. Delirious is great friends with Bryan Danielson. I have more respect for Delirious as a wrestler than Adam Pearce. That's just my opinion. So I think this will be great, though. Next question. Can Eddie Edwards rise to the ranks in the shadow of David Richards? Yeah, without a doubt. The thing about Eddie Edwards is he's in a great position now because, the bigger David Richards gets, everyone's going to look at Eddie Edwards as an underdog, and that's great. Ring of Honor doesn't like it when guys are overhyped and have so much hype behind them. Pretty much Eddie Edwards is pretty much always going to be looked at as the underrated guy, like the Scottie Pippen, to David Richards, Michael Jordan, and that's a good thing because the ROH fans will always be on that guy's side. They like to see an up and coming, hungry guy, a guy that doesn't have a lot of hype behind them. So I think that's definitely going to work in Eddie Edwards' favor as he gets better. But when he wins the championship, though, there's no doubt people are going to turn on him. No matter who wins the Ring of Honor championship, there's always going to be a small percentage of fans turning on him. But Edwards' future looks bright as far as his popularity and everything in Ring of Honor for sure. Next up, which indie star will go to the WWE next? I'm trying to think about this one. I mean, I would think Chris Hero. I think Hero is perfect for the WWE. I think Hero versus Edge could be a huge match if that ever happened. Why Chris Hero is not in the WWE, I have no idea. I think Vince McMahon would, once he realized Chris Hero's full potential, I think he would realize he was a dumbass not to jump on the opportunity to sign him sooner. I think Claudio Castagnoli should be in the WWE. I think everyone that's a great star in the independent scene in Ring of Honor, PWG, I think all these guys deserve a shot at the WWE. I think the WWE needs these guys severely right now, like really bad. And but if I were to pick two guys, I say Chris Hero and Claudio Castagnoli would be great fits for the WWE. They're big, tall, athletic. They could both cut. I mean, Chris Hero could cut great promos. Claudio has a really good look to him. So they should be in the WWE. But I hope that they aren't, though. I'd rather see them. For my personal reasons, I'd rather see them stick around in Ring of Honor to help the company. And I think Hero and Claudio need to have a feud over the championship in 2011. That would be the big money feud for Ring of Honor, in my opinion. So, all right, next up, freaking Yaya88. He asked, do you see Miami living up to the hype with the new trio that they have set up, winning an NBA title within the next 3 years, if not this year? Yeah, do I see him living up to the hype? I really do. I don't see how you can go wrong. I think people are kind of underestimating Dwayne Wade's ability. Dwayne Wade is, I would say he's the best player in the league right now. And then you got LeBron James. We all know how good he is. And then Chris Bosh, we all know how good he is. He's one of the best big men, very versatile. Can take people off the dribble with the jump shot. You can drop to the lane. You can pretty much do it all for his size. So, you got two guys that demand double team coverage. So it's going to open things up for everyone. I don't see how they're going to stop him. Actually, I think they did a pretty good job of assembling a nice supporting cast. And if they don't live up to expectations, Pat Riley is going to be back on the bench, and he's going to make sure that they live up to expectations. There's just no way around it. Anything less than a championship will be considered a failure for this year, and I fully expect to see them at least making it to the finals, without a doubt. I mean, I just don't see how this amount of talent, you could go wrong with this amount of talent, because LeBron has led mediocre, average to fucking death Cleveland Cavaliers teams to the NBA Finals, and so it's a no-brainer. I don't see how it could go wrong. I'm not a big fan of this situation, but I'm not going to deny it. This is going to be a monster year for these three gentlemen in Miami and the Miami Heat as an organization as well. So, all right, next up we have freaking Yaya. He actually asked, do you think the WWE should somewhat find a way to book Danny Bryan versus Taker to get it out of the way before Taker's retires. So we don't have to wonder how good of a match it could have been. I think Taker versus Cena needs to be more of a priority, but yeah, I would agree. I think Danielson versus Taker would be epic. It's something that I would really, really love to see. And personally, I would actually, if I were Undertaker, I would actually do the job and put Bryan Danielson over. If anyone deserves it, it's Bryan Danielson. You want to pick an up-and-coming guy that's an amazing wrestler that could carry the WWE into the future and could use the defeating Undertaker to really jumpstart his career. I think Bryan Danielson is the perfect candidate for that. And as far as the wrestling match goes, it'll be epic. And Taker's getting old now. I think the time to do it is now, though. I think it should happen. I think it could be a friggin' awesome match. But do I see it happening? Probably not. But it would be awesome, though. So, what was your favorite year in the WWE storylines and match quality? Without a doubt, it's 2002. 2002 was epic, in my opinion. You had everything. You had the great wrestling on SmackDown with the Super Six. You had great comebacks: Shawn Michaels, Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Hulk Hogan. I could go on and on and on with that. You had great pay-per-views: SummerSlam 2002, No Mercy 2002, Judgment Day 2002, WrestleMania 18. It was for entertainment value. That was a great WrestleMania. And you had great storylines too. I mean, HBK and Triple H is a great storyline. Jericho and Stephanie, not really. I mean, you had some bad storylines. Don't get me wrong, Katie, Vic, and Kane. But I kind of liked the dark and disgusting storylines in the middle of all the greatness. I just think that's kind of cool, actually. You could have Triple H fucking Katie Vick in a coffin on Raw, but then the same week you get Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit putting on a 5-star match on SmackDown. So I just thought that was, thought it was such an interesting time to be a wrestling fan, even though that was kind of the time when people started turning away from the business slightly. But yeah, I love WWE in 2002. Nothing's ever going to duplicate it. The amount of talent that they had at that time was just unreal. I think if you were more of a wrestling fan than an entertainment fan, I think WWE in 2002 was definitely that year. But if you're more in for the storylines and the entertainment aspect, then you'd probably say like 1998 or something like that. All right, next up we have Lucid LJ asks, who are your top 5 wrestlers right now? All right, really quickly: Bryan Danielson, Davey Richards, Kurt Angle. Jericho's not there anymore, so I'd probably say Chris Hero, and let me pick one more guy. Probably say Mike Quackenbush. All right, top 5 TV shows of the 90s. I really don't have, maybe Wonder Years. The Wonder Years of Fred Savage. If you guys remember that show, that was probably my favorite television show. I still watch it from time to time, actually. This is when I was a kid, though. These are not shows that I will watch right now. Probably Full House, Urkel, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They used to have a Mario Brothers cartoon, which I really enjoyed. Ghostbusters. What else is there? The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Martin. Just some shows from MTV. The Real World. The Real World used to be awesome, like back in '93, '94. It wasn't like it is today. It used to be pretty cool, actually. MTV used to have a lot of good shows back in the day, before they really sold out and went the opposite direction. Top 5 Nigel McGuinness matches. Really quickly, let's go. Nigel McGuinness versus Bryan Danielson from Unified, from Driven, from Rising Above. Nigel McGuinness versus Austin Aries from Rising Above 2007. Nigel McGuinness versus... I'm trying to think of a Nigel match besides Bryan Danielson and Aries that was awesome. Nigel versus Kenta. Nigel versus Tyler Black from Take No Prisoners. That's definitely up there as well. And Nigel McGuinness versus Kevin Steen from Northern Navigation. That was an epic match as well. So, top 5 Samoa Joe title matches. Title match? Oh no, just matches. Samoa Joe versus AJ versus Daniels from Unbreakable. Samoa Joe versus CM Punk's Joe versus Punk 2. What else do we have here? We have I like Samoa Joe versus Chris Sabin from TNA No Surrender. I thought that was great. Trying to think of some other Joe matches. Joe versus Homicide from Death Before